So DJI just announced the new Air 2S drone, and this is a drone that I'm really excited about. Now, one thing to mention is DJI is actually changing the name of this line of drones. They're no longer going to be referred to as the Mavic line. That's going to be reserved for the bigger drones. These ones are just going to be referred to as the Air line. There's a bunch of new things about this drone that are really exciting to me, and I'm very grateful to have been able to push this thing to its absolute limit over the past few months while shooting for the official launch video. It's got a bigger 1-inch sensor, 10-bit color space, 5.4K recording, and the ability to zoom up to 8x in 1080p and 4 times in 4K. Now, although I was paid to make the launch video, I'm not being paid to make this review. This is just a video I wanted to make since I've been able to thoroughly test the drone throughout the process of making this launch video. Now, if you guys are interested in learning about how I put together the official launch video for the Air 2S, I'll be uploading a bunch of behind-the-scenes videos on Kolder Creative, breaking down everything from the pre-production of this project to how I put together some of the transitions. If you're not already a member, we will be opening up enrollment for the second time in the near future, so click the link in the description and sign up for email notifications to get notified when we open up enrollment again. I've always talked about how the DJI Air line of drones have been my go-to drones for the type of content that I like to do. They're small and agile, but can still shoot beautiful 4K video. But the Mavic 2 Pro was still much better in terms of its camera quality because of its bigger sensor and 10-bit color space. And for a serious creator like myself, the step up from 8 to 10-bit is huge. The only reason I didn't make the Mavic 2 Pro my go-to drone was because it was still a bit too big for me. I love to fly my drones through tight spaces and get really dynamic looking shots. I'm also always traveling, so I like to have my gear as light as possible because I carry a lot of it with me pretty much all the time. To me, the ideal drone would be the combination of the Air body with the camera of the Mavic 2 Pro. And that's pretty much what DJI has done with the new Air 2S, except there's a lot more that comes with this one. Now, the first thing I want to focus on is the camera. The sensor is a 1-inch sensor capable of shooting 10-bit video at up to 5.4K resolution at 30 frames per second. The 1-inch sensor is great because it allows for more light to enter the camera, meaning that you'll receive better performance in low light situations. 10-bit video is substantially better than what I used to record on the Air series of drones, and for a serious video editor like myself, having that extra color information in my image is huge because it just gives me so much more flexibility in post to tune my image's colors exactly how I want them. Here's a comparison of the Air 2 and the Air 2S. You can see how much cleaner the footage looks from the Air 2S over the 2. .4K resolution is beautiful. I actually didn't understand how much resolution that was until I put the image next to a 4K clip and realized how much more resolution that actually is. With the added resolution, I'm able to crop in quite a bit and still maintain 4K resolution. I tend to crop in a lot in my editing style and actually animate the position of the clip to simulate gimbal movement on the drone. So the additional resolution is something that I really love to see and is going to make my life as a content creator and editor a lot more exciting. And of course, you can always downscale your 5.4K clips in a 4K sequence and have your 4K footage look even more beautiful. Now, the focal length of the lens is 22mm, slightly wider than the previous Mavic Air 2 at 24mm and Mavic 2 Pro at 28mm. Having that wider angle is great, especially for someone like me who likes to fly in tight spaces. Now, if that's too wide for you, this drone also lets you zoom in. Now, you can't zoom in 5.4K, but if you switch to 4K, it'll allow you to zoom in up to 4x, and if you shoot at 1080p, it'll allow you to zoom in up to 8x. Now, the one thing about the zoom feature is it doesn't work in D-Log, which is the only picture profile that I shoot in. You have to go back into the normal picture profile in order to use this. Now, I'm hoping that there is going to be some kind of software update in the future that's going to let us zoom in D-Log, but even if that's not the case, it's not the end of the world because if you're like me and you need to shoot D-Log, 5.4K will allow you to zoom in quite a bit without losing much resolution. It was really great to be able to shoot at 4x in 4K on this little guy and be able to get such beautiful parallax. So the DJI Air 2S takes 20 megapixel photos just like the Mavic 2 Pro. I personally found the image quality to be really beautiful and actually prefer the image that comes out of this over the 48 megapixel images from the previous Mavic Air 2, and I'm really happy with the drone's photo performance. Now, the battery life of this drone is actually a little bit less than its predecessor, the Mavic Air 2. This one can fly for a maximum of 31 minutes, whereas the Mavic Air 2 was able to fly for 34 minutes. Now, of course, with this drone, we are getting a much higher quality image out of it, so the trade-off for 3 minutes is definitely worth it in my opinion. Just the fact that we're able to fly a camera in the sky that shoots 10-bit 5.4K for over 30 minutes is pretty insane. So one feature that I'm very excited about is the ability to shoot raw time lapses at 2-second intervals. Before this, the best DJI drones could only do 5-second intervals when you're capturing raw photo time lapses. So that would force me to shoot a lot of my time lapses and hyperlapses in JPEG so I can get that 2-second interval. But now I can do 2-second intervals in RAW, which is huge. And finally, we have O3, which is Ocusync 3. With Ocusync 3 and an additional 2 antennas, giving us 4 antennas total, we're able to reach distances of up to 12 kilometers. That's 2 extra kilometers more than the previous Air 2 and the Mavic 2 Pro. I've flown this drone a lot over the past couple months, and the signal has been phenomenal. It's been able to transmit a 1080p image from very far away. I would say that this is probably the best performing drone that I've ever used to date in terms of signal transmission. So I get asked all the time, what's my go-to drone? And a lot of people think that it's my FPV drones nowadays. At this point, I'm still using normal drones like this more than FPV drones, so this is going to be my new go-to drone. In terms of general content creation, I would say that the DJI Mavic and Air lineup of drones has an advantage over FPV. With non-FPV drones like these, we can not only shoot video, but we can also shoot photos, time lapses, hyperlapses, and we can also just let them fly by themselves, which is honestly something that I do a lot. But that's pretty much my experience using this drone. I love this thing. I'm going to be using it all the time. I have a couple of them, and I know that my next drone reel is probably going to be full of clips taken on this drone. But that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.